Guys, Chad's back with another video. In this video, we're just going to discuss a little NBA Top Shot. And this is a comment on a video about NBA Top Shot. And this is like a common theme about people like just ultimately dismissing NBA Top Shot. Now, am I one of the biggest NBA Top Shot believers? And I believe it's destined for greatness? Not necessarily, but I don't completely dismiss the site and dismiss it as being, having actually future collectors like wanting these things. And just, life in general has once you go through life and you see things and things happen to you, you look at things a little bit differently. Like I had this same mindset as you see this comment right here on a YouTube video about Bitcoin. I didn't understand it. It was dumb to me. Why would somebody pay money for these coins? I knew about Bitcoins when they were around $50 a coin. Mind you, they've gotten upwards of 40,000 a coin. But I knew about Bitcoin in its infancy. A guy explained it to me. He actually used to have computers set up mining these Bitcoins, and he explained to me how he did it. He had computers running all day just getting them Bitcoins. He used to actually be able to mine them, get free Bitcoins off these programs that you ran. That's one thing that kind of threw me off too as well, that you can mine these things. And then just how I explained it, I was like, there's just no way. And looking back at it, if I would have invested in Bitcoin, just say I would have invested $1,000, I'd have so much money just off of that investment. Obviously, I probably would have sold off before it got to 40,000, but that's besides the point. But that's all I'm saying is, like, don't completely just write something off because you don't see the future. You can't analyze it. Now, this guy right here, it says basically the thing was like most people on the site, the video kind of was like, most people here is like free money. It's like most people are just, if you buy packs on the site, you can make, you can just triple, double, triple, 4 times, depending on what moment you pull, you can just make easy money. And that's what basically this guy's saying, like 80% of the users is in it for the money because it's free money, but 80% of, so basically like there's only like a small portion of people who actually like it and are collecting these things. Okay, so he's like, it's such a house of cards. Maybe the rarest ones hold some value. He says some value. He doesn't say hold value, just some value. Like the rest of the comments will be $1 in due time. I could be wrong, but I'm not. Obviously, he could be right, but I don't think he's 100% right. I do think, just like sports cards, and that was my comment back. I was like, well, basically, I can argue sports cards are the same thing. I think 80% of the money in sports cards right now is investors. Now, there's people masquerading as collectors, but they're really, they're really investors. Most of the stuff they're buying now, they might collect a little, just because you collect a little PC of one player who's really cheap, and you got a bunch of his cards, and then everything else you're buying is to eventually sell. You're investing at that point. People want to masquerade themselves as collectors. They like certain cards, and I agree. I like certain cards as well. Like some of my Darius Garland, like one thing I want to do in the future is, like, once I get all my graded cards together, do a video with like 100 slabs of Darius Garland. That's cool, and it's nice to have them around, but at the end of the day, it's an investment. Once the price gets to a certain point, I'm selling this stuff. So a lot of people like to, say they're collectors, but just because you PC some random third string quarterback that never made it, his cards are like $1, and then you're buying a bunch of Jordan cards to then flip them, you're investing at that point. And like people like, it's investment money. Like let's not kid ourselves. Most people who are buying these cards, and especially the high value, it's all investors. So let's stop kidding ourselves. Most of these people aren't getting these cards to keep them in their collection and never sell them, but I digress. And then most of them be common. Okay, most of the rest of the comments will be worth $1. Well, I can tell you that a lot of these young players who we're paying $500-$600, and guess what? A lot of those guys who are getting paid a lot, like Zion Williamson, if he doesn't turn out to be anything more than just a borderline all-star type player in 5 or 10 years, guess what? His cards will be really cheap. Go look up Blake Griffin, right? What's the highest card that sold of his on eBay? Like $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 or something like that? Guess what? You insert Blake Griffin from Zion last year. A lot of you younger guys don't remember Blake Griffin when he was coming out of college. He was so good that the team drafted him knowing he wouldn't play his rookie season. He still went #1 overall, and he was dunking over everybody. He was just as exciting as Zion. And you looked at his first year, he won Rookie of the Year, crazy stats, all this and that. But again, he never really he got to like that star point, but he never pushed past to that superstar level. And if Zion never pushes past that superstar level, people who are paying $500,000, $200,000 for his cards, guess what? Those cards will be worth 1,000, 2,000, if that, in the future. So that's one thing. Like a lot of these cards, especially even common players, like these guys that go for like 200 or 300, their base cards or whatever, if they don't turn out to be anything, their cards will be going for $5 or $6 in the future. Most of the cards are overpriced. For people who don't know, 97% of the cards you're buying are overpriced. They will be worth really, really little bit of money 10 years from now. That's what people don't understand. It was similar to like one guy who was saying he wanted to get $1,000 cards for his son in the future. But in my head, I'm like, yeah, most of those $1,000 cards will be worth $6, $5 in the future. Like they won't hold any value, especially if it's young guys who haven't proven anything. Now, if you're investing in like Jordan cards, rare Jordan cards, stuff like that, yes, most of those cards will appreciate over time because Jordan's Jordan. But if you're investing in a lot of these younger guys, it's very speculative, and most of them, they're not going to pan out. So that's just one thing I say. Don't automatically dismiss something because you don't know. And that's one thing I said too, is like, what if they release like legendary moments? You don't think collectors will be drooling over this site like little babies, like a toddler drooling all over his fucking teething toy? That's what's going to happen. What if they release the Michael Jordan Game 6 winner against Utah Jazz? You don't think there's going to be a rush of Jordan collectors that's going to hop on this site trying to get own those moments? And I get it. People be like, well, it's a moment. You can get it. Well, a card is a card. It's a piece of cardboard. You can just make one yourself. And what makes that one more valuable than the other one? At the end of the day, people give value to things that you might not understand. You just got to be smart enough and play the market. And I'm not telling you everybody go out there and be on NBA Top Shot. And obviously, I'm not saying that. You do what you want to do, but to automatically dismiss it like that, I mean, it's very, I'll say you can lose out on stuff just like I lost out on Bitcoin by just automatically dismissing something just that you don't understand. So yeah, I would just say, man, if they release like historic moments, Jordan thing, like dunk contest moments, like Jordan free throw line dunk, bro, like these things will get collectors going. And in the future, this might be thing. People want to be like, like one of the greatest highlights of all time. Guess what? I own that moment on NBA Top Shot. And how NBA is, promoting NBA Top Shot, it's going to be big. And a lot of the young kids, well, they can't afford Prism, basketball, hobby boxes, stuff like that. Guess what? They could probably buy a pack on NBA Top Shot. This is what they probably grew up on in the future. This might take over sports cards. You never know. Guess what? At one point, BGS was bigger than PSA. PSA took over them. Like, things change. Markets move. Just because something is the biggest thing right now, the biggest collected thing, doesn't mean in the future that's going to be the biggest collectible thing. So just always keep that in mind, that you can't just assume that everything's always going to be status quo and everything's going to stay the same. And just because you don't understand something, maybe do some research, and you could, find your angles. You could always make, even if the site goes to zero, there's already people who've made hundreds of thousands on the site. So, I mean, people, they gain the system. So don't automatically dismiss things like that. That's just a comment that kind of drove me, because obviously the sports card market, same things could be said about the sports card market. So it depends on what angle you're looking at and from what you're looking at it at. It's pretty much it. If you guys have any questions or any comments, comment down below. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Till next time, guys.